Welcome to A Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, some casual book hauls, mini life updates. It has been a minute since I've filmed one of these because of my trip, and then it was wrap-up time, and etc. So we're gonna get into it. It is about, for me, a week of the way into the month, and I have finished one thing, and I'm in the middle of all of the things. So it's fine. It's fine. I've been going really easy on myself. It's been a very hectic couple of weeks. And I am letting myself do what brings me joy, which means I have been actually watching more TV than normal. Like, normal for the past couple years I've been on BookTube, not abnormal for how much TV I used to watch, say, 3 or 4 years ago. So I might mention those briefly at the end, but primarily it's going to be about books. So the one thing I have finished, and that's the Undocumented Americans. This is a nonfiction. The author herself is undocumented, but it's primarily about different stories she has gathered from different parts of the U.S., different jobs that people take as undocumented immigrants, but also just their life. And I don't know, it's really good. Really heart-wrenching, because you just realize how much we do not allow humans to have dignity unless they follow some very strict rules. And I don't know, as someone whose father was an immigrant in this country, and I have a very close history to how the immigration system in the U.S. can separate a family, it was a lot, but I'm really glad I read it. It does have some memoir-like portions, and she does the audio narration, and I thought it was phenomenal. It's very short, but it's very heavy, and I think if you've ever wanted this type of insight, you for sure should pick it up. I think it's very much worth your time. Really amazing. Glad I finally got to it. The other nonfiction I'm working on, let's get it out of this stack. Gates of Europe. I read a couple more chapters because I did reading sprints earlier this week, and that's when I read them with Jess. If you want to see us just randomly talk about Andrew Garfield and a bunch of other random things, that's in that video on Monday. And I'm liking this. It's definitely, like I've said in every video where I bring this up, this is not narrative driven. This is not story driven. This is very names, dates, places. And I think we've left the Renaissance, because I think Catherine the Great is no longer the ruler, but we're almost into part 4, which is the Wars of the World, which I assume was going to take place more in the 20th century. And so I'm almost up to date from where Red Famine had me going forward. So that should be really interesting to see what this adds, or how briefly it mentions the things that I learned more in depth in Red Famine. So still really enjoying this. Might read it a bit more tonight as I'm watching the Celtics game, because that's a time I like reading nonfiction, because you can just, like, during commercials, read a page or two, which is about, like, my attention span for this type of thing anyways. And so we'll get into my audiobook next, I guess. I'm trying not to forget things because I was silly and didn't take any notes. I'm listening to Foreigner right now, which is the channel buddy read-ish. Only one person has posted updates, and he has already finished the book. But I'm catching up, and I don't know what I expected going into this. I knew it was space opera, and I knew that the first part of the book's very different from, I think, what the rest of the series is like, and I'm still in the first part of the book, and I'm liking it. But it's reminding me a lot of Children of Time and Foundation, where we're having generational jumps. And I don't mind that. I'm pretty used to that in sci-fi, but it means I don't get to be latched onto characters. But it's a really interesting kind of humanity making contact with other life in space and how that works out. Sort of sci-fi. I'm still very early days. Like, I think I'm 17% of the way through. I like the audio narrator. I'm curious. I'm interested. It is a quality sci-fi. I'm interested in some of the things that are different and similar in this far-off planet that we are on. The first part, so they're split into books, is ridiculous. Like, it's just like, you finish the first chapter and it's like, oh, we're just 0 to 100. We're just, like, bad things, which is not dissimilar to Children of Time. So I think it's that genre of space opera sci-fi, and I don't know. We'll see how it compares to me for Children of Time, because I do think it's going to deviate from that near the end, just based off what I've heard and my expectations for this, 20-plus book series. And so my Kindle book is Fool's Errand. It's still Fool's Errand. I've been reading this book for, ever. I am over a third of the way through now, page 200-something, and we have left the location. To be fair, the book has been doing a lot of backstory and catching up, so, we haven't actually, always been in one location. We've been telling stories of other locations. But legitimately, Fitz has been in one place for over 200 pages. And we're finally moving. We're finally going somewhere. And it's also one of those things where I'm enjoying it, and I like Fitz more as an adult. but I'm also just like, Fitz, why? You have no choice. You have to do this. So anyways, per usual, the thing that had to happen has happened. If you've read the series, you know, we are moving forward. We are progressing the plot. I've been reading it before bed, which is probably why I haven't gotten a lot of traction, because I can read like, 10 to 20 pages before I fall asleep, but it's an 800-page book. So it's taking a minute. And that's my issue. I'm reading a lot of really long things, and none of them is like my priority because my brain just doesn't know what it wants. Because similarly, I am, how far am I into this book? I think I'm 200 some pages into this one too. Yeah, 225 pages into Grace of Kings, which I do think this is going to become my priority, because I'm going to be in a Ken Liu chat soon for World Hoppers. Keep your eyes out. And I feel like it'd be nice to finish the first novel and both short story collections before that conversation. And I mean, I'm a good chunk of the way through, and it's not hard to read. There's nothing about this that is actually super hard to read for me. I think the writing style is really digestible. It's just not extremely character driven, which is not a negative. It's just really chunked and compartmentalized. It reads like a short story author writing an epic novel, and I kind of like that because I don't get that very often. It's a very unique narrative framework for what we're doing, because we'll have a chapter and we'll suddenly get like, a little backstory, and then we're back to them. It's like I said, it's very compartmentalized and chunked, which I am enjoying, and it's very short sections. I think it's really easy to read. I really like our main character. I think there is like a main character, at least. I like the Dandelion. I know who the Dandelion is. It's called the Dandelion Dynasties. I like this character. So I've been spoiler vlogging this, so if you ever want my spoiler thoughts, you can join the Patreon. That's what I'm working on, and we also have a patron-only part of the Discord where we're chatting about this as we go. I'm excited, though, because in general, this seems to be the least favorite of the bunch, or maybe that's the third book. I don't know, because the third book's kind of like cut off. And obviously you need the fourth book because it was one very large book split in half. But in general, I think I've been told if I like this, which I am, I don't know if it'll be more than a 4-star, but I'm really liking it, then I will love the next one, Wall of Storms, maybe. So it's been good. I mean, I already knew I liked Ken Liu's writing. I am actually enjoying this historical fantasy because it's like bringing to the table what I expected in terms of its world building. So yeah, also the characters are asking questions that I always ask with the idea of empire and conquering and rebellion, which is definitely in this book. And that makes me happy because lately I think I've been burnt out on that theme, partially because no one is asking some basic questions. And I'm just like, I need people to ask these basic questions and think about them as they do things. The other book that I am in the middle of, Seasonal Fears by Shauna McGuire. I'm this far. This one I'm only 100 some pages in, 144. And I'm really liking it. I think if I didn't feel the need to maybe finish Grace of Kings for a certain deadline, I would actually read this, because this one's actually fitting in my brain space better. Like, I'm enjoying reading this one more because it's Shauna McGuire, and I feel like how she does character relationships just really vibes with me, and I'm a character relationship interpersonal connection person. This has Melanie and Harry, and so this series is fantasy, but it's fantasy in the lens of how does magic evolve when there's technology, and that the answer is alchemy. And so we have this alchemy in the world and people trying to control the universe via alchemy. And basically in the stories in this middle game verse, I don't actually know what it's called. I think it's the Journals of the Alchemist series. We have people who are kind of pawns for the alchemists, but then they refuse to be pawns. And in this one, Melanie and Harry are the pawns who refuse to be pawns. And they've kind of always been like girl next door, sweethearts in high school. And she's always been chronically ill. So we've been following things, and we have just hit the point where they realize, oh, we're in this situation. And now it's kind of like with Fool's Errand, I'm at the point where, okay, we have set it up, and now the plot must progress, if that makes sense. Because, we've just been caught up, we've just been explained things to. There's a chapter called Explanation, which my info dump loving heart enjoyed to no end. I know people don't like info dumps. I love info dumps. What are we doing? Info dumps are great. Especially with something this confusing. Well, it's not super confusing, but we haven't really had explanations for why things work the way they do with the alchemy, and we were finally getting some information about that. And so, basically, our main characters have been told, you have been chosen, and now they get to figure out what to do with that information, and I'm excited. So those are the things I'm in the middle of. I don't think there are other things I'm in the middle of right now. And obviously, normally I would talk about what am I going to pick up next, but I need to finish some of these, and that's just what it's going to be. hopefully by the next time I check in, I'll have finished Seasonal Fears and have maybe worked on reviewing a whole, like, Journals of the Alchemist series review sort of thing. I want to finish Grace of Kings, maybe get a spoiler-free review for that out, because that's, like, a big book lately. If I have thoughts. If I don't have thoughts, I won't make a review. It's generally the rule. So that's kind of where I am with books. Things that I have watched. I finally watched Arcane. I see why it gets the hype. I don't think I love it as much as everyone else, but I really liked it. I think part of the issue is, like I said, it hits on a lot of themes that I've just been beaten over the head with lately in fantasy. They've always been there, but I think lately I've just been really jaded and like, yeah, no. So I watched it, really like the animation is chef's kiss, the soundtrack, amazing. I just think the actual plot I wasn't really in for, and I liked a lot of the characters, but not all of them, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, I really liked Jinx. Let's just put it that way. I really liked Jinx. Her sister was fine. And I say that as someone who usually really likes the older sister, younger sister, like, analyzing trope. Like, I just watched League of Their Own again recently, and, like, still hits. It's still great. Also watched Heartstopper. Again, another one that I liked but didn't love. But I see the hype. I understand it. I don't know if I watched anything else. Oh, I just watched Under the Banner of Heaven purely because Andrew Garfield's in it. I love Andrew Garfield. I feel like you guys know this if you've been around for a while, because I loved, I was talking about my love for the Amazing Spider-Man movies and Tick, Tick, Boom. I just think Andrew Garfield's a phenomenal actor, and I think he's cute. So, like, put those two together, and I think he did an amazing job. I don't normally watch true crime dramas, but this one was very different, and I think it's a little long, but I liked it well enough. And now we'll do my little book haul, because I have two books. One I purchased a long time ago, but I hadn't filmed a Friday Reads, and I love this book, and I've talked about this book maybe in every video lately, and I am not sorry. And that is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is my copy. Oh, look at that foil. I really like the spine. I decided to get this one and not the UK one, because even though this cover is not my favorite, I actually really like the feel of it. It has a nice, like, satin feel. But the main reason I got it is because, A, Bone Dog. Bone Dog's great, and I do like the green and the foil, but also these end pages, though. I think it's the same on both the front and back, but still. It's Mara and her coat, and Bone Dog again. So in terms of, like, a version of this that I wanted, this was on the shelf. It's so pretty. I really, really love this book. And another one I want to definitely show you guys, even though I think I got it last week, because it releases this week, I believe, and I really liked this book. Don't have a review for it, because I really don't know how to talk about it. But I did talk about it in my Tour.comathon vlog, so I will link that down below if you want to know more thoughts. And that is The City Inside. So, this is the finished copy. I did have an ARC, and Tour did send me this, so I did not pay for this book. But look at this cover. It is so pretty. It doesn't really have special end pages, but it's nice. It's nice blue. And this is a literary sci-fi anti-dystopian book. It takes place 20 years from now. I believe it takes place in, like, the 2040s, 2050s-ish. I could be wrong, because it's been a while since I've read it, and I think it might say it on the inside flap. But it's in India, and we are following two privileged individuals who do not like the new status quo of the authoritarian government. You're always being surveillanced, can't really say everything you want to say, and it's after a time of, you know, it's basically near future from our point now. So everything's happening now. And we're 20 to 30 years away from that. This is the situation. We have our privileged individuals who work for basically influencers. It's called something else, but it's basically people who vlog their entire lives for people for money, and how they deal with the status quo and their transition into going into resistance. But resistance is not the big part of it. Like, there's a little bit about how they resist, but this is mostly very slice of life, transitioning into what are the big things that actually push them to finally resist. It's very unique, and it's a very distinct writing style, so I really don't know who is going to like this or not. I don't know. I liked it. It definitely reminded me of, like, Fahrenheit 451 in 1984 and The Memory Police, especially The Memory Police, in terms of a book where very slice of life, but thematically rich ideas sort of book. And I did like one of the characters more than the other. I thought Joey was a fascinating character, how she handled her anxiety, how she was a woman who did it all, but we also saw her very vulnerable side. Really liked her. So this book just came out, and I have a finished copy. It's also very satiny, which I really enjoy, and it's just so pretty. Like, look at that. So those are the books, and that's my update on everything. I am moving. It's been gradual because we still have this apartment for a while because we wanted to get out of the September lease cycle. And if you don't know, Boston has really weird lease cycles. It's unlike most other cities in the United States. So it's been gradual, but we have our movers coming next week. So I'm going to be packing up these bookshelves and moving them. So this is the last video I'm filming in this setup. The next setup might look identical and you guys might not notice. I don't know. And I'm thinking, not promising, thinking of filming like a packing bookshelf tour situation, because I know everyone always wants a bookshelf tour on this channel, but they're exhausting. I am exhausted watching people's bookshelf tours, but I figure since I'm going to be moving every individual book as I'm packing them and unpacking them, maybe that's the time. If you are interested in that content, scream that down in the comments below, because that means I am way more likely to do it. And that's it. Otherwise, if you want to leave an emoji, I don't know, leave something for the city, because I just talked about the city inside. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.